where the water drains from a pipe she was laying face down on a cement slab. Thousands of gallons of water had washed over her. When it was time to take more pictures of the body, we rolled Amber over and I caught her head in my hands. Leaves and twigs tangled her long dark hair. Bruises marred her pale skin. Her eyes, once a vibrant blue, were now hazy and grayish. Several lacerations to her throat. A knife or screwdriver had been used to rip her throat out, hanging by a little bit of skin. Had her eyes open and she was staring at me. These are the words of the former Arlington police detective Randy Lockhart when discussing Amber's case at a Cleburne Rotary Club luncheon in 2021. This is an update on the Amber Hagerman case, the girl behind the alert. It was a mildly sunny Saturday afternoon on January 13, 1996, 27 years ago, in the Texas city of Arlington. The weather was pleasant and Amber believed that it was the perfect day for an adventure. It was the ideal day for biking, so 9-year-old Amber Hagerman and her 5-year-old brother Ricky rode their bikes away from their grandparents' house, promising their mother Donna Williams that they wouldn't go further than a block like they always do. Soon after, they discovered the ideal location for an exhilarating ride, the deserted parking lot of a closed Winn-Dixie supermarket. Like every young child their age, they tried to push past the rules. Amber decided to take a more thrilling ride on a ramp in the parking lot, even though she was already several miles from her house. As the temperature dropped, Ricky decided it was time to return home because he didn't want to break any more rules. Amber, on the other hand, was still buzzing from her ride, but Ricky had grown weary of the earlier thrilling experience. Home could wait as long as she could spend more time on her new Christmas present. She wanted to soak up as much fun as she could. Amber was unaware that she was enjoying not just her best ride, but possibly her last ride as well. She relished every moment of it, joyful and carefree, while perhaps attempting new cycling maneuvers. And then it happened. 78-year-old Jimmy Kevill had a good view of the shopping center and had earlier seen a young girl riding her bicycle alone in the empty parking lot between the laundromat and the vacant grocery store.
Little girl that took off toward town with her. And she hollered.
I had seen that little girl over there playing up and down there, and he run up behind her and grabbed her. He turned around and come right back to here where his truck was, where the door was open, and put her in the truck.
He saw everything. While watching her, he noticed a black pickup truck suddenly pulled up between the two buildings. The driver got out and forcibly pulled the girl off her bike. Amber resisted being taken. She kicked, screamed, and struggled, but no one was nearby to assist, and her strength was completely insufficient to withstand the adult man's full force as he threw her into the truck and sped off. When the police responded to the call, the truck was long gone, and there was no sign of the man or Amber, other than her pink bicycle, which she had resignedly abandoned. Kevill provided the police with a very detailed description of the kidnapper, describing him as a Latino or white male in his 20s or 30s with a medium-built body and brown or possibly black hair. He further described the vehicle as a full-size black fleet-side pickup truck with a short wheelbase, a single cab, a non-sliding glass back window, no chrome, no striping, and no obvious damage from the 1980s or 1990s. Additionally, Kevill told police that the truck carrying the kidnapper pulled out of the parking lot and turned west on East Abraham Street. According to the police, this description has not been challenged or changed, so it continues to serve as the benchmark for investigations. A search team could be organized with these descriptions alone. Together with the police, the entire neighborhood set up several teams of 5 to 10 people to search for any signs of Amber or her kidnapper, but to no avail.
Searches launched around the neighborhood.
Tonight we had some information to be on the lookout for a black pickup truck. Officers were following every black pickup truck that moved in the city.
But every second is crucial, as the driver could be getting further and further away from the crime scene. At the same time, Donna contacts friends and family to pass out flyers with Amber's picture on it. As neighbors become aware of the kidnapping, the search party grows in size, and more volunteers join in. So many people just wanting to help start showing up at the house that they begin to fear.
The FBI and Arlington police put in a lot of effort talking to neighbors looking for the suspect and searching for the car, in the hopes that someone would come forward with information that could lead to Amber's safe return. Local radio and TV stations covered the story in their regular newscasts. But as the days passed, Amber was nowhere to be found. As the search for Amber continued, every minute mattered and grew increasingly long. With the setting and rising of the sun, minutes turned into hours, which turned into days. Unfortunately, the fourth day changed everything. Stuart Cocker took his Norfolk Terrier, Yoda, for a walk around 11:30 p.m. on the fourth day following the disappearance of 9-year-old Amber. Cocker was at the base of a creek bed when his dog guided him past spindly trees and muddy banks to a rain-swollen creek, where he arrived at a horrifying scene. The only thing left to keep the young girl warm was a sock on her left foot. He discovered the child's body face down on the concrete with no clothing covering her. Cocker, who was already terrified, did not waste any time in making a distress call to Arlington police to report the body.
41 p.m., Arlington's dispatch receives the call everyone's been dreading. Amber's body has been found in a creek, only 4 miles from where she was kidnapped.
Apparently he was walking our dog and he had looked over the fence and had saw something white, looked again and noticed that it was a body.
When the police showed up, they quickly ascertained that the body belonged to Amber Hagerman, a third grader at Berry Elementary School. During the body's laboratory examination, traces of DNA were discovered. But at the time, water had washed away all potentially useful evidence, so it could not yield as many results. After the death and burial of Amber, the Amber Alert Plan, as America's missing broadcast emergency response, was born. Amber's case really emphasized the need for a missing child alert system. If emergency alerts were sent out for weather and civil defense, then it only made sense that something similar is done for missing children. The purpose of an Amber Alert is to quickly mobilize the community through notifications that are distributed by radio, television, road signs, mobile phones, and other data-enabled devices. It is truly unsettling to imagine Amber's last days on Earth. Amber's body had been found just a few miles from the location where she was abducted. The unthinkable was discovered during an autopsy. Amber had been brutally murdered after being held captive for 2 days and subjected to sexual assault. All she was wearing on her right foot was a sock, and her throat had been slashed open. No parent should ever have to go through such a tragedy, but Amber's parents were now experiencing their worst fear. All they could hope for was justice for their daughter, but that would prove too difficult to achieve. Nearly 8,000 leads were pursued, but none of them resulted in the discovery of the murderer. The perpetrator of this heinous crime must have known the area, according to the police's suspicions. To date, no one has been connected to the case for forensic evidence. The major reason why is the fact that Amber had spent a while in the creek bed with all that running water. There was also an intense storm, so all evidence that might have aided the police was washed away due to the water flow. Unfortunately, the mystery was left unsolved. One time, someone had been brought in for questioning from Arizona, but the authorities later discovered that the suspect hadn't even been in the country during the week of the crime. The police had no other suspects or leads, which became a dead end. The police did believe one thing to be a fact. Amber's death was simply a crime of opportunity. Before Amber Hagerman was taken, the truck Amber's kidnapper was driving could be seen outside a laundromat close to the Winn-Dixie store. This meant that the man probably saw Amber and her brother Ricky ride into the parking lot together. According to police theory, he realized the opportunity moments after her brother left and then picked Amber up. 3 weeks after Amber was kidnapped and found dead, the police were at a loss as to what to do next. At that point, they decided to publicize a psychological profile of the murderer in an effort to apprehend him before he committed another crime. Despite their best efforts and a $1 million investment, the case was still unsolved. It has since become a cold case. Leads are very crucial to investigations like this, but sometimes it's rather difficult to get them. This is because many investigational elements cannot be repeated or reinvestigated after the immediate aftermath of a homicide, which is what makes cold cases challenging. Since then, both Jimmy Kevill, who saw Amber being kidnapped, and officers like Ford, who was familiar with the case, have passed away. Also, very little has changed regarding the case's facts since then. Amber and her brother were riding bicycles in the parking lot of an abandoned grocery store when a man in a pickup truck grabbed Amber off the bike, pushed her inside, and took off. Kevill, the only known witness, claims that Amber screamed and attempted to kick her captor. Police have identified the suspect as a male suspect who was white or Hispanic and was in his 20s or 30s at the time of the incident. He had a medium build, a height of under 6 feet, and black or brown hair. He was operating a full-size single-cab black truck with a short wheelbase, the police said. It had no obvious damage, no chrome or striping, and a clear back window at the time, so it was in good condition. 25 years later, Detective Gilden, who is now in charge of this investigation, said, "The description you have from that first day and some of the specifics that came in the early phases hasn't changed." Other nearby cold cases have recently made progress, with an arrest being made in the murder of Carla Walker in 1974, much later in September 2020. However, despite the difficulties, the Arlington Police Department is still dedicated to bringing justice for Amber Hagerman. Detective Gilden claims that his team continues to investigate every tip, no matter how small or seemingly unimportant it may seem. There's cause for optimism too. 2019 saw the department make an announcement that they had acquired fresh DNA data in Amber's case. While they were unable to provide any additional information about the evidence, they did state that it might eventually result in a breakthrough in the investigation. Other high-profile cold cases have recently been solved with the use of DNA evidence. As an illustration, the Golden State Killer was apprehended and found guilty in 2018 after decades of DNA evidence was finally matched to the murderer. Additionally, Amber's situation might experience a similar breakthrough. The Arlington community, however, has continued to remember her and hope for justice up until that point. An annual candlelight vigil is held in the parking lot where she was taken on the anniversary of her abduction. People assemble to remember Amber, offer prayers for her family, and to recommit themselves to finding her killer. Amber's legacy has endured for 27 years since her kidnapping. Her story has encouraged people all over the nation to fight for missing and exploited children, and the system named in her honor, the Amber Alert, has saved countless lives. Because of this, even though Amber's killer may still be at large, the impact of her tragic early death and life will live on forever. The legacy of Amber lives on, and we will keep working tirelessly until justice is served, Detective Gilden declares. As you can imagine, Amber's death had a negative impact on her family, and this damage was irreversible. Things were never the same for Amber's parents since they learned the truth about the incident and considered splitting up after that. Donna was given custody of the children when their divorce finally got underway. Amber's mother remarried and continued living her married life as Donna Norris after the divorce was finalized. But it is a much sadder tale for Amber's father, Richard Hagerman, who battled alcoholism to a severe degree after the death of his only daughter. The situation was too difficult for him to accept, especially because her killer remained at large. Richard was unable to control his behavior. He gave in to alcohol and couldn't pull himself out until he lost his job and was unable to find another one because of his mental impairment. He eventually passed away in 2007 while still seeking closure for his daughter. Since Richard's death in 2007, Donna has taken the initiative to participate in several interviews and speak to the public about her hope and how the search will be finished once Amber's killer is found. Amber's voice is audible and clear through her mother, even without hearing how strong she was. Donna Norris, a strong and determined person, has not only spoken for herself but has also carried the Amber Alert system for 27 years. The impact that this bereaved mother has made cannot be overemphasized. She became the vice president of the Amber Child Safety Systems and has been fighting for children abducted like Amber ever since. During the 25th anniversary of this case on the 13th of January 2021, the police and members of Hagerman's family assembled for a news conference to make a renewed plea to the community for information about her abduction. A $10,000 reward has also been initiated for a tipster who can provide revealing information that would lead to an arrest or a conviction. The reward is definitely worth it, but no one seems to have the right information to lead to an arrest. Later that year, the department said it would submit case-related evidence for the cutting-edge form of testing. Arlington Police Chief Kevin Colby said that with the emergence of new DNA technology, the department is excited to be able to submit it this year in the hopes of obtaining a stronger genetic profile on the murderer. This was a statement to Dallas-Fort Worth's Fox 4 regarding the Amber Hagerman case. During the press conference, he also stated, "Our goal is that someone in the community witnessed something and didn't come forward 25 years ago because they were afraid or didn't want to be involved for whatever reason. We need people to examine their thoughts for anything that might be of importance to our research. We are all left with heavy hearts as a result of this tragic case's unsolved mystery. We can only hope that justice will eventually be done and that those responsible for Amber's kidnapping and murder will be brought to justice. Surely time will bring the answers that we seek in this case."